Hello everyone, this is the first of 3 parts dealing with the Weti coolers example that looks at all 3 kinds of budgets: planning budget, flexible budget, and also looks at actual results. And then we'll make sure we know how to construct those, and then the final piece will be looking at the variances. So where I want to start today is with making sure you can construct that planning and flexible budget. And so it goes like this. Things to remember. All of this data that you see right now was given in the problem. And so, oops, I'm missing one piece. And that's the 60,000. That would go here. That also is given. Anyway, that's the information you have. And so the question is, how do I get my planning budget completed? Well, remember what we said in class. The planning budget is the expected sales and our original assumptions, or what I call the original recipe. And so this is our original recipe. Now I also will call that later standard. So those are our standards. The standard resources I want to use per finished unit, the standard price per resource that I use, and then this would be my expected or standard cost for a finished unit. So those 3 pieces are really important, and make sure you know the difference. And so since I'm looking at this original plan of 1,000, I can compute my sales number by simply taking the 1,000 times the 200, and I wind up with 200,000. So this will give me the 200,000. Okay. And then the next ones, I just have to take that 1,000 times the 80 times the 18 times the 30, and we'll fill out the rest of those numbers because this becomes 80,000 and this becomes 18,000 and so forth. The challenge is over here in the flexible budget. Okay, so here's where our challenge is, because you have to be prepared for one small change, and that change goes like this. Okay, it's going to be the 1,200 as the volume that I'm working from, because what I want to do is see what my budget would have looked like if I had actually known that my sales would be 1,200 instead of 1,000. So that's the point we're after. Now, so what you'll hear me say about the flex, it's the actual sales times the original assumptions. And so the original assumption over here for the sale price was 200, not this number. Okay, it's the 200. The flexible budget then for total sales is going to be the 1,200 times the 200, which is going to give me 240,000. Oops. 240,000. And at that point, I can also then go down and say, what's my materials for the flexible budget? And that will be 1,200 times the 80, and that would give me 96,000. So you get the gist. All right. So at that point, we'll go ahead and move forward and look at a full set of this information. So there it is, filled out for you. And as I told you before, you had the 60,000 in fixed expenses. I just didn't have it in the other sheet. Now, one of the things that we haven't touched on very much is that this fixed expense amount, it's going to be the same for my initial plan and for my flexible budget, because that was an original assumption. That was an original assumption. So we just carry it forward from the initial plan into the flexible budget. Okay? And so this allows us then to calculate 2 sales variances. One is the sales volume variance, and that's the difference in income between the planning budget and the flexible budget. It's 14.4. It's the difference here. That's also the difference here. The difference between your contribution margins is also 14.4. Okay. And so the only you're just subtracting 60 from both of the contribution margins, so that's why this stays the same. But that's our sales volume variance. The impact of the volume change on income between the two budgets. The other one you get is a sale price variance. Here it's 24,000. Be a little careful, okay? Because this one is the difference between my flexible budget or expected sales, 1,200 times the 200, compared to the 216, which is the actual results. 1,200 times the 180 gets me the 216. The difference between these two is negative 24,000, right? So that's a bad thing. Why? Because the sales that we actually got, 216, are not as high as what we'd expected. So we fell short of that flexible budget expectation. So what you have now are two sales variances, this sales variance and this one. So I've got two variances and two budgets. And I've got to be able to do those components. Anyway, that's what I know for now. So I'll catch you again in the next component.